r/MaliciousCompliance Stepkid's mom used me as free babysitter, so I quit mid-date. Sarah, thank God you picked up. Jessica's voice came through my phone in that familiar panicked tone that I now knew was complete bullshit. I need you to come get Emma right now. My mom just fell down the stairs and I have to rush to the hospital. I stared at the flickering candles on our anniversary dinner table, watching the wax drip onto the white tablecloth while my boyfriend Marcus excused himself to the bathroom. 20 minutes ago, I'd been laughing at his terrible jokes and feeling butterflies when he hinted about having something special planned for dessert. Now his ex-wife was doing what she did best, turning me into her personal on-call babysitter with zero notice. Jessica, I'm really sorry about your mom, but I'm actually... Please, Sarah. Emma's crying and asking for you specifically. She doesn't want to come with me to the hospital, and you know how she gets around sick people after what happened with her grandpa last year. The guilt trip. Right on schedule. I closed my eyes and tried to summon some patience. Emma was a sweet kid, and none of this was her fault. But this was the fourth emergency this month. Last week it was a burst pipe that required Jessica to supervise repairs during my study group. 2 weeks before that, a family crisis that coincidentally happened right when I had plans to see a movie with my roommates. How long do you think you'll be? I asked, already knowing I was about to cave. Oh, probably just a few hours. You're such a lifesaver, seriously. Emma's already in her pajamas, so she just needs someone to make sure she brushes her teeth and gets to bed by 9. Marcus slid back into his seat across from me, immediately noticing my expression. His face fell as he recognized the look, the same defeated expression I'd worn every other time his ex had successfully hijacked our plans. Let me guess, he said quietly. Emergency? I nodded while Jessica continued chattering in my ear about how grateful she was and how Emma had specifically asked for me. The thing was, I actually loved spending time with Emma. She was funny and smart, and we bonded over our shared obsession with true crime podcasts, age-appropriate ones, obviously. But what I didn't love was being treated like the hired help instead of Marcus's girlfriend. We can reschedule, Marcus said, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes. He'd made reservations at this place weeks ago. Are you still there? Jessica's voice had taken on an edge of impatience. I really need to know if you're coming because I have to leave soon. That's when I heard it, muffled music and laughter in the background. Not the sterile silence of a hospital waiting room, but the kind of noise you'd hear at a restaurant or bar. My stomach dropped as puzzle pieces started clicking together. Jessica, where exactly are you right now? A pause. Too long of a pause. I'm at my mom's house, obviously. Look, can you please just give me a straight answer? Are you coming or not? The background noise had mysteriously disappeared. She'd moved somewhere quieter, probably covering her phone. I looked at Marcus, who was watching me with a mixture of hope and resignation. I thought about all the times I'd rearranged my schedule, canceled plans with friends, and put my own life on hold because Jessica had trained everyone to jump when she called. You know what? I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. Of course I'll come watch Emma. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. He'd clearly expected me to make excuses like I'd been doing lately, trying to set boundaries that Jessica steamrolled right over anyway. Really? Jessica's relief was palpable. Oh, thank God, Sarah. You're amazing. I'll text you the address. Emma's at my friend Rachel's place because I needed someone to watch her while I dealt with the initial crisis. Another red flag. If this was such an urgent family emergency, why was Emma at a friend's house instead of with Jessica? But I just smiled sweetly, even though she couldn't see it. No problem at all. I'll head over right now. After I hung up, Marcus reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Are you sure about this? We could tell her to figure something else out for once. No, it's fine, I said, gathering my purse. The plan that was forming in my head was probably stupid, definitely risky, and could blow up spectacularly. But I was so tired of being Jessica's doormat. Emma shouldn't suffer because her mom is. A manipulative nightmare? Marcus supplied helpfully. I was going to say dealing with a family crisis, I said with exaggerated innocence, but your version works too. He laughed, but there was worry in his eyes. What are you thinking? You have that look. What look? The same look you had before you told off that professor who kept hitting on students. Kind of scary, actually. I kissed his cheek and stood up. Order dessert without me. I'll probably be back before you finish it. That was a lie, but Marcus didn't need to know that yet. The drive to Rachel's apartment gave me 20 minutes to fully commit to what I was about to do. By the time I knocked on the door, I felt surprisingly calm. Emma launched herself at me the second the door opened, wrapping her skinny arms around my waist. Sarah. I thought you were busy tonight. I was, but your mom needed help with Grandma's emergency, I said, smoothing down her wild curls. Over her head, I caught Rachel's expression, confused and slightly guilty. Oh, the hospital thing, Rachel said carefully. Yeah, that's really scary. Interesting. Rachel clearly knew something was off but was going along with Jessica's story anyway. Where did your mom go exactly? I asked Emma as we gathered her overnight bag. She said she had to go help Grandma, but first she needed to stop somewhere to pick up Uncle Derek. Emma wrinkled her nose. I don't like Uncle Derek. He's loud and he smells weird. Uncle Derek. Not her actual uncle, but Jessica's on and off boyfriend who Marcus couldn't stand. The same Derek who'd been posting Instagram stories from downtown bars all evening, I checked during my drive over. Well, she'll probably be gone for a while helping Grandma, I told Emma. How about we go back to your mom's place and have a movie night? Emma cheered, completely oblivious to the adult drama swirling around her. As we drove to Jessica's apartment, she chattered about school and her friends, occasionally asking if I thought Grandma would be okay. Each innocent question made my jaw clench tighter. Using a 7-year-old's natural worry about family emergencies to manipulate free childcare was low, even for Jessica. But what really got to me was how she trained Emma to specifically ask for me during these crises, knowing it would make saying no almost impossible. Well, tonight Jessica was about to learn that even the most reliable people have their breaking point. And mine was a long overdue lesson in consequences. We got to Jessica's apartment around 8:30, and I went through the usual routine, helping Emma brush her teeth, reading her a chapter from the book we'd been working through together, and tucking her into bed with her favorite stuffed elephant. She was asleep by 9:15, which gave me plenty of time to execute my plan. But first, I needed confirmation of what I already suspected. Jessica had always been careless about her social media, posting everything in real time like she was documenting her life for posterity. I pulled up her Instagram while sitting on her couch, and there it was, a story posted just 20 minutes ago showing 2 cocktails on a dimly lit bar table with the caption "Much needed girls' night." Cocktail glass sparkles. Girls' night. Not sitting in a hospital waiting room praying for her mother's recovery. I screenshotted it before she could delete it, my hands shaking with anger. Then I scrolled back through her recent posts and found even more evidence. Last week's burst pipe emergency had apparently coincided with a wine tasting event across town, based on her tagged location. The family crisis from 2 weeks ago lined up perfectly with her check-in at some trendy rooftop restaurant. She'd been playing me for months, and I'd been too focused on not wanting to cause drama to see the pattern. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "How's it going? Still planning to be back for dessert?" Winking face. I was about to respond when another notification popped up. Jessica had just posted another story. This time it was a selfie with Derek, both of them clearly several drinks in, with a caption "When Bae surprises you with date night." 2 hearts. Bae. She was calling Derek Bae while her daughter thought grandma was in the hospital. That's when I heard Emma's voice from the bedroom. "Sarah? Can you come here?" I found her sitting up in bed, looking worried. "I had a bad dream about grandma. Do you think Mom will call to tell us if she's okay?" My heart broke a little. Here was the sweet kid genuinely concerned about her grandmother, while her mother was posting drunk selfies and bragging about her surprise date night. "I'm sure your grandma will be fine," I said, sitting on the edge of her bed. "Try not to worry too much, okay? Will you stay until Mom gets back? I don't like being alone when I'm worried." And there it was, the complication I hadn't fully considered. Emma wasn't just a prop in this drama between me and her mother. She was a little girl who'd been abandoned for the evening based on a lie, and she was scared. I tucked her back in and promised I'd be right outside if she needed anything. Then I sat back down on the couch and stared at my phone, my resolve wavering. Walking out would definitely teach Jessica a lesson. But it would also mean leaving Emma alone, which was exactly the kind of thing her mother would do. I didn't want to sink to that level. But staying meant letting Jessica win again. It meant accepting that I'd always be her backup plan, her free childcare service, her doormat. I was still wrestling with this moral dilemma when my phone rang. "Marcus. Hey, you okay? You've been gone for over an hour." "I'm fine, just thinking." "Uh-oh. That's never good. What's wrong?" I told him about the Instagram posts, about the pattern I'd finally recognized, about Emma's innocent questions about her grandmother. His silence on the other end spoke volumes. "She's been lying this whole time," he finally said, and I could hear the anger in his voice. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was being this manipulative. The question is, what do I do now?" Another pause. "What do you want to do?" That was the problem. I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure I could live with the consequences. "I want to leave," I said quietly into the phone. "I want to walk out right now and let Jessica figure out what to do when she gets home and realizes her free babysitter is gone." "But," Marcus prompted, knowing me well enough to hear the hesitation in my voice. "But Emma is asleep in there, and she's worried about her grandmother who isn't even hurt. She asked me to stay because she doesn't want to be alone." I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache building. "If I leave and something happens?" "Nothing's going to happen, Sarah. She's 7, not 3. She's asleep, and Jessica will be back eventually." "Will she though?" The question surprised me as it came out. "Look at her posts. She's hammered, and it's not even 10 p.m. yet. What if she decides to make this a really late night? What if she goes back to Derek's place and doesn't come home until tomorrow?" The silence on Marcus's end told me he was thinking the same thing I was. Jessica had pulled stunts like this before, back when she and Marcus were married. She'd go out for a few hours and roll in at dawn, leaving him to handle everything. She wouldn't do that to Emma, he said, but he didn't sound convinced. Wouldn't she? She's already lying about a family emergency to get free childcare. How big of a leap is it from that to staying out all night? My phone buzzed with another notification. Jessica had posted yet another story, this time a video of her and Derek doing karaoke to some song I didn't recognize. The timestamp showed it was taken 15 minutes ago. She wasn't slowing down, she was just getting started. "Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." "Okay. How often did she do this when you were married?" "The lying, the manipulation, the putting herself first?" A long pause. Too long. More than I wanted to admit at the time, he finally said. I kept telling myself she was just young and figuring things out. We had Emma so young, and I thought she needed to get it out of her system. And did she? Get it out of her system? Obviously not, since she's doing it to you now. That hit harder than I expected. I'd been so focused on not wanting to be the evil stepmother stereotype that I'd let myself become something worse, the doormat girlfriend who enabled Jessica's behavior by always being available to clean up her messes. "I feel like I'm trapped," I admitted. "If I stay, I'm teaching her that this behavior works. If I leave, I'm abandoning a little girl who doesn't deserve any of this." "What if there was a third option?" "Like what?" "What if you stayed with Emma, but made sure Jessica faces consequences anyway?" I sat up straighter. "What are you thinking?" "Well, she's posting everything on social media, right? Including evidence that she lied about the emergency?" "Yeah, I screenshot some of it. And tomorrow is Sunday, which means Emma doesn't have school. What if Jessica wakes up hungover at Derek's place and realizes she has to figure out her own childcare for once?" I started to see where he was going with this. "You mean don't tell her where Emma is?" "I mean take Emma with you when you leave. Bring her to my place, let her hang out with us for the day. When Jessica finally surfaces and realizes her daughter isn't at home, she'll have to actually parent for once instead of just assuming you'll handle everything." It was devious. It would definitely freak Jessica out. But it would also keep Emma safe and cared for, which was my biggest concern. That's actually not terrible, I said slowly. But what if Jessica calls the police? Claims I kidnapped Emma or something? With what evidence? You have screenshots proving she lied about the emergency. You're a known caregiver who's been watching Emma for months. And Emma will tell anyone who asks that she was happy to come with you. My heart was racing as I considered it. It was risky, but it was also the first plan that didn't require me to choose between my self-respect and Emma's well-being. There's just one problem, I said. Emma's going to ask questions when I wake her up to leave. Actually, Marcus said, his voice taking on a thoughtful tone, what if we don't wake her up right now? What if we wait until morning and make it seem natural? I was about to respond when I heard a key turning in the front door lock. My blood went cold. It was barely 10:30. There was no way Jessica was back already, not based on her recent Instagram activity. Unless... Sarah? Jessica's voice called out, but something was wrong with it. Slurred. Unsteady. Oh shit, I whispered into the phone. She's here. She's back and she sounds drunk. What? Marcus's voice sharpened. That doesn't make sense. Didn't you say she just posted? Sarah. Jessica called again, louder this time. Where are you? We need to talk. I could hear her stumbling around in the entryway, bumping into something that clattered to the floor. My mind raced through possibilities. Had she seen my car outside? Realized I'd figured out her lie? Come back to confront me? I have to go, I whispered to Marcus. She's drunk and Emma's trying to sleep. Wait, don't hang up. But I'd already ended the call, my heart hammering as Jessica's uneven footsteps approached the living room. When she appeared in the doorway, I barely recognized her. Her hair was disheveled, her lipstick smeared, and she was swaying slightly on her feet. There you are, she said, her words running together. Good little Sarah, always so reliable. The way she said reliable made my skin crawl. Like it was an insult instead of a compliment. Jessica, you're going to wake Emma, I said quietly, standing up from the couch. She's already worried about your mom. Jessica's laugh was harsh and bitter. My mom? Oh right, my mom. She stumbled toward me, and I could smell the alcohol on her breath from 3 feet away. Funny thing about that. My stomach dropped. She knew that I knew. Rachel told me you seemed confused about the hospital thing, Jessica continued, leaning against the back of an armchair for support. Made me realize I should probably check what I'd posted tonight. She pulled out her phone and waved it at me, the screen showing her Instagram page. Oopsie. Looks like I forgot to put it on private before my date. Jessica, you're drunk. Why don't you go sleep it off and we can? Don't. Her voice cut through mine like a blade. Don't you dare try to manage me right now. I am so sick of everyone trying to manage me. I'm not trying to manage you, I'm trying to keep Emma from... From what? From seeing her mom have a life? Jessica pushed off from the chair and took an unsteady step toward me. From realizing that sometimes adults need to have fun instead of being perfect little martyrs all the time? The hostility in her voice caught me completely off guard. This wasn't the grateful, apologetic Jessica who usually called begging for favors. This was someone I'd never seen before, someone angry and mean and looking for a fight. Why are you here? I asked, backing toward the hallway where Emma's room was. Some instinct told me to put myself between Jessica and her daughter. I thought you were helping your mom. Cut the crap, Sarah. We both know you figured it out. She was following me, her movements jerky and unpredictable. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Nothing, I said quickly. I'm not going to do anything. I just want Emma to have a peaceful night. Liar. The word came out as a hiss. You think you're so much better than me, don't you? Perfect little college girl with your perfect little relationship with my ex-husband. Ex-husband. Not ex-boyfriend. The venom in the way she said it made something click into place. This wasn't just about free babysitting. This was about Marcus. Jessica, this isn't about Marcus. Everything is about Marcus, she snapped, her voice rising dangerously. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't see what's happening here? From down the hall, I heard Emma's door creak open. Mommy, came a small, sleepy voice. Why are you yelling? Mommy? Emma's voice was small and confused as she appeared in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. I thought you were at the hospital with Grandma. Jessica's entire demeanor shifted in an instant. The angry, confrontational woman from 30 seconds ago vanished, replaced by someone trying desperately to appear sober and maternal. But the transition was so jarring, so obviously fake, that it made everything worse. Hey baby. Jessica said in an overly bright voice, swaying slightly as she turned toward her daughter. Mommy's back. Grandma is. Grandma's fine now. Emma looked between us, her 7-year-old brain clearly trying to process why her mother smelled weird and why I looked like I'd seen a ghost. But you said she fell down the stairs. Did the doctors fix her already? The question hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Jessica's mouth opened and closed, no sound coming out. I watched her scramble for an explanation that wouldn't completely unravel her lie, and for a horrifying moment I thought she might actually tell Emma the truth, that there had been no emergency, no injured grandmother, just a mother who wanted to go drinking with her boyfriend. The doctors worked really fast, Jessica finally managed, but her voice cracked on the last word. Really, really fast. Like, medical miracle fast. Emma wasn't buying it. She was young, but she wasn't stupid, and Jessica's performance was getting worse by the second. Mommy, you smell funny. Like when Uncle Derek comes over. I don't smell funny, Jessica snapped, then immediately tried to soften her tone. I mean, hospitals have lots of weird smells, sweetie. Cleaning stuff and medicine smells. I felt sick watching this train wreck unfold. Emma was getting more confused and upset with every word, and Jessica was digging herself deeper into a hole she'd never climb out of. The smart thing would have been to stay quiet, let Jessica handle the mess she'd created. But I couldn't watch her lie to Emma's face anymore. Emma, honey, why don't you go back to bed? I said gently. Your mom and I need to talk about grown-up stuff. No. Jessica's voice was sharp again, the fake sweetness evaporating. Emma can stay. This is her house, after all. My house. The emphasis on my wasn't subtle. She was marking territory, reminding me that I was just the babysitter here. The help. Someone who could be dismissed whenever it was convenient. Sarah was just leaving anyway, Jessica continued, moving to block my path to the front door. Weren't you, Sarah? You've done your job for tonight. Emma looked up at me with wide, worried eyes. Are you leaving? But I thought you were staying until Mommy got back from the hospital. I am back, Jessica said, a little too loudly. So Sarah can go now. Can't you, Sarah? There it was, my out. Jessica was giving me permission to leave, probably hoping I'd slink away quietly and never mention what I discovered about her lies. I could grab my purse, walk out the door, and pretend this whole nightmare had never happened. Except Emma was still staring at me with that confused, worried expression that made my heart ache. And Jessica was swaying on her feet, clearly in no condition to be taking care of anyone, let alone a child who was already upset and confused. Actually, I heard myself say, I think I should stay a little longer. Just to make sure everyone gets settled okay. Jessica's eyes flashed with something dangerous. I said you can leave. Emma and I are fine. Aren't we, baby? But Emma wasn't fine. She was wringing the hem of her pajama shirt in her small fists, looking back and forth between us like she was watching a tennis match she didn't understand. Mommy, why are you being weird? And why didn't Uncle Derek come back with you if Grandma's okay now? Oh, shit. Jessica had told Emma she was going to pick up Derek. Another lie that was about to unravel. Derek had to, he had to stay with Grandma, Jessica said quickly. To keep her company. At the hospital. Where she still is. Because she's still hurt but also fine. Even Emma could see the contradictions now. Her lower lip started to tremble, and I realized she was about to cry, not from sadness, but from the awful confusion of having her mother tell her obvious lies about things that mattered. I want to call Grandma, Emma said suddenly. I want to make sure she's really okay. Jessica went completely white. You can't call her, sweetie. She's sleeping. From the medicine. Then I want to call Daddy. No. The word exploded out of Jessica so forcefully that Emma actually stepped backward. I mean, Daddy's busy tonight. Remember? He was having dinner with Sarah. Emma's eyes widened as she looked at me. But you're here. So where's Daddy now? I felt like I was watching a car crash in slow motion. Jessica had trapped herself in a web of lies that was getting more tangled with every word, and Emma was the one paying the price, confused, scared, and starting to realize that the adults in her life weren't telling her the truth about something important. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably Marcus, wondering what was happening. But I couldn't check it, couldn't look away from this disaster unfolding in front of me. Because Jessica was looking at me with eyes that were equal parts pleading and threatening, silently begging me to help maintain her lies while simultaneously warning me not to make things worse. And Emma was looking at me too, but with pure trust, like I was the only stable thing in a world that had suddenly stopped making sense. I was going to have to choose a side. Right here, right now, with a scared little girl watching my every move. The question was, which choice could I live with? I want to call Daddy, Emma said again, this time with more determination. She crossed her arms in that stubborn way kids do when they've decided something isn't fair. Jessica's panic was almost palpable. Emma, no. It's late, Anne. It's only 10:30, Emma interrupted, pointing at the clock on the microwave. Daddy lets me call until 11 on weekends. You said so yourself. I watched Jessica's face cycle through about 5 different emotions before landing on barely controlled desperation. She knew as well as I did that the moment Emma got Marcus on the phone, this whole house of cards would collapse. Emma would ask where I was, Marcus would say I was supposed to be babysitting, and then Emma would put together that her mom had lied about everything. Your daddy is probably asleep, Jessica tried weakly. No, he's not. He never goes to sleep before midnight. Emma looked at me for confirmation. Right, Sarah? You know Daddy's sleep schedule. The way she said it was so innocent, but it hit Jessica like a slap. Here was her 7-year-old casually mentioning how well I knew her ex-husband's habits, highlighting exactly how integrated I'd become in their lives. Jessica's jaw tightened. Fine, Jessica said suddenly, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. Fine, you want to call Daddy? Let's call Daddy. My stomach dropped. This was about to get so much worse. Jessica was drunk dialing Marcus while Emma stood there in her pajamas, and I was trapped in the middle of it all like some kind of unwilling referee. I could already imagine how this conversation would go, Jessica slurring her words, probably saying things she'd regret, while Emma listened to every word. Jessica, wait, I said quickly. Maybe we should. But she was already hitting Marcus's contact, putting the phone on speaker before I could stop her. The ringing filled the apartment, unnaturally loud in the tense silence. Jessica? Marcus's voice came through, cautious and confused. Is everything okay? Is Emma all right? Oh, Emma's just perfect, Jessica said, her words dripping with sarcasm. She wants to say hi to Daddy. Don't you, baby? Emma stepped closer to the phone, but something in her mom's tone made her hesitate. Hi, Daddy. Mommy said Grandma got hurt, but now she's better, but also still hurt, and Uncle Derek is with her, but also he was with Mommy, and I'm confused. The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long I wondered if the call had dropped. When Marcus finally spoke, his voice was very carefully controlled. Emma, sweetheart, where is Sarah right now? She's right here. She came to babysit me when Mommy went to help Grandma. But then Mommy came back and she smells like Uncle Derek and... That's enough, Jessica snapped, reaching for the phone. But Emma, sensing drama, dodged away from her mother with the quick reflexes of a kid who'd learned to read adult moods for survival. Daddy, why does Mommy keep telling different stories about Grandma? And why won't she let me call to check on her? Oh, for fuck's sake, Jessica muttered, and I saw Emma's eyes go wide at the curse word. Jessica, Marcus's voice came through the speaker, low and dangerous. What exactly is going on over there? What's going on, Jessica said, abandoning any pretense of sobriety, is that your perfect little girlfriend figured out she's not actually required to drop everything every time I call. And now she's standing in my living room judging me for having one night of fun. One night of fun? Marcus's voice rose. You told her there was a family emergency. You said your mother was in the hospital. Emma gasped. Grandma's not really hurt? The look of betrayal on that little girl's face broke something inside me. She turned to stare at her mother, waiting for an explanation that would make sense of why she'd been lied to about something so serious. Jessica opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again like a fish gasping for air. And that's when Emma started to cry. Not the quiet, sad crying of a kid who scraped her knee, but the gut-wrenching sobs of a child whose world just shifted on its axis. Emma had realized that her mother had lied to her about her grandmother being hurt, had used her love and worry for her family to manipulate a situation. Emma, baby, please don't cry, Jessica said, suddenly seeming more sober as maternal instinct kicked in. She reached for her daughter, but Emma stepped back, bumping into me. You lied. Emma choked out between sobs. You said Grandma was hurt and I was so scared and you were just. I can explain, Jessica started. You were at a bar. Emma's voice cracked with the effort of yelling through her tears. I know what bars smell like. You weren't helping anybody. Through the phone speaker, I could hear Marcus cursing under his breath. Emma, sweetheart, I need you to listen to me, okay? Everything's going to be fine. No, it's not. Emma wailed. Mommy's being mean and weird and she lied about Grandma and I want to go home with you. You are home, Jessica said sharply, her patience finally snapping completely. This is your home, Emma. With me. Not with Daddy and his little girlfriend who thinks she knows better than everyone. The venom in her voice when she said little girlfriend made Emma cry harder. I wrapped my arms around her shoulders, feeling her small body shaking against me. Jessica, you need to calm down, Marcus's voice came through the speaker, tight with barely controlled anger. You're scaring Emma. I'm scaring her? Jessica laughed, a sound with no humor in it whatsoever. That's rich, coming from you. You want to know what's scary? What's scary is watching some teenager play house with my family while everyone acts like I'm the problem. I'm 19, I said quietly, speaking for the first time since the phone call started. And I'm not playing anything. Oh, she speaks. Jessica turned that bitter laugh on me. Tell me, Sarah, how does it feel to be the perfect replacement mommy? Does it give you a little thrill, knowing that my daughter asks for you instead of me? Emma's sobs got louder. This was exactly what I'd been afraid of, adult drama playing out in front of a kid who just wanted her family to make sense. That's enough, Jessica, Marcus's voice cut through everything like a knife. Emma doesn't need to hear this. Hear what? The truth? Jessica was spiraling now, months or maybe years of resentment pouring out all at once. The truth that you replaced me with someone barely out of high school? The truth that my own daughter would rather spend time with her than with me? Maybe because I don't lie to her. The words came out before I could stop them, sharp and angry. Maybe because when I'm with her, I'm actually present instead of looking for the next person to dump her on. Emma went completely still in my arms. Even her crying stopped as she processed what I just said. The apartment fell silent except for the sound of Jessica's heavy breathing and Marcus saying oh, shit very quietly through the phone. I'd just crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Jessica's face went through shock, hurt, and rage before settling on something cold and calculating. Get out, she said, her voice deadly quiet. Get out of my house right now. Emma's grip on my arm tightened. No. I want Sarah to stay. Well, Sarah doesn't get to stay, Jessica said, moving between me and Emma. Because Sarah isn't family. Sarah is just some girl who's been playing dress up in our lives, and now she's done. Through the phone, Marcus was saying something, but I couldn't process his words over the sound of my heart hammering in my ears. Emma was looking up at me with those wide, scared eyes, and Jessica was blocking my path to both the door and to Emma, swaying slightly but determined. I had maybe 30 seconds to decide how this night was going to end. I looked down at Emma's tear-stained face, then at Jessica blocking my path, then at the phone where Marcus was saying my name with increasing urgency. The smart play was obvious, apologize, leave quietly, let this blow over. Save whatever was left of my relationship with Marcus and hope Jessica would eventually calm down enough to let me see Emma again. But something in Jessica's cold smile told me that ship had already sailed. She'd been looking for an excuse to cut me out completely, and I just handed it to her on a silver platter. Emma, I said gently, crouching down to her eye level. I need you to go to your room for a few minutes while the adults figure some things out, okay? No. Emma's voice was fierce despite her tears. Every time adults need to figure things out, someone leaves and doesn't come back. The raw honesty of that statement hit me like a physical blow. How many times had this little girl been shuffled away while the adults in her life made decisions about her future without her input? Sarah's already leaving, Jessica said, her voice still dangerously quiet. So there's nothing to figure out. Actually, came Marcus's voice through the phone speaker, I'm on my way over. Jessica's face went white. You can't just. Watch me. I'll be there in 10 minutes. This is my custody time. Jessica snapped. You can't just show up here because you don't like how I'm handling things. You're drunk, Jessica. While caring for our daughter. After lying about a family emergency to manipulate free childcare. Marcus's voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. I'm pretty sure any judge would consider that grounds for concern. The word judge seemed to sober Jessica up faster than a bucket of ice water. Her hand instinctively went to her phone, probably calculating how quickly she could delete those incriminating Instagram posts. You wouldn't, she said, but uncertainty crept into her voice. Try me. Emma looked confused by the sudden shift in power dynamics, but she seemed to sense that her dad was somehow winning this fight. She loosened her grip on my arm slightly, though she didn't move away from me. 10 minutes is enough time for Sarah to leave, Jessica said, trying to regain control. Emma and I will be fine until you get here. No. Emma's voice was small but determined. I want Sarah to stay until Daddy gets here. Jessica's jaw clenched. Emma, you don't get to decide. Why not? Emma interrupted, and I was startled by the steel in her 7-year-old voice. You decided to lie about Grandma. You decided to come home smelling weird and yelling. Sarah's the only one who hasn't been deciding scary things tonight. Out of the mouths of babes. Emma had just summarized the entire situation with the brutal clarity that only kids possess. Jessica opened and closed her mouth several times, clearly scrambling for a response that wouldn't make her sound worse. My phone buzzed with a text, probably Marcus giving me an update on his arrival time. But as I pulled it out, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Jessica's phone was in her hand, and she was typing furiously. Jessica, I said slowly, who are you texting right now? She looked up with guilt written all over her face. I'm just telling Derek what's happening. Derek? Marcus's voice came through the speaker, sharp with alarm. Why the hell are you involving Derek in this? But I was already putting the pieces together, and I didn't like the picture they were forming. Derek, who Jessica had been with all evening. Derek, who Marcus had described as volatile and unpredictable. Derek, who probably had no idea about the complex custody arrangements and family dynamics he was about to walk into. Jessica, I said carefully, where is Derek right now? Her silence was answer enough. Emma picked up on the new tension immediately. Is Uncle Derek coming here too? I don't want Uncle Derek here when everyone's already mad. He's just worried about me, Jessica said defensively. When your daddy gets all threatening, I have a right to. She was cut off by the sound of a car door slamming outside, way too early to be Marcus. Emma grabbed my hand. That's Uncle Derek's car, she whispered. He drives loud. Through the window, I could see a figure stumbling up the walkway, clearly as drunk as Jessica, if not worse. My heart started racing as I realized we were about to add another unpredictable drunk adult to a situation that was already spiraling out of control. And Marcus was still 8 minutes away. The sound of Derek's fist pounding on the door made Emma jump so hard she nearly knocked me over. Through the thin apartment walls, we could hear him shouting Jessica's name, his words slurred and aggressive. Open up, Jess. Marcus thinks he can threaten you? Nobody threatens my girl. My girl. Great. Derek was drunk, territorial, and about to walk into a situation he didn't understand with a 7-year-old caught in the middle. Jessica, do not let him in here, Marcus's voice came through the phone speaker, urgent and commanding. Not while Emma's there. But Jessica was already moving toward the door, stumbling slightly in her heels. Derek's just trying to help. Help how? I stepped between her and the door, my heart hammering. By coming here drunk and yelling? That's going to help Emma how exactly? Jessica. Derek's voice boomed through the door, followed by more aggressive pounding. I know you're in there. Your car's in the parking lot. Emma pressed closer to me, her small body trembling. I don't like when Uncle Derek yells, she whispered. He gets mean when he yells. That stopped Jessica in her tracks. Even through her alcohol-fueled haze, she couldn't miss the fear in her daughter's voice. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the mother she could be, someone who put Emma's well-being above everything else. But then Derek started yelling again, and whatever clarity she'd found evaporated. He's worried about me, she said, reaching for the deadbolt. Marcus is coming over here all angry, and Derek just wants to make sure I'm safe. Safe from what? I grabbed her wrist before she could turn the lock. Marcus is Emma's father. He's not some random guy threatening you. Let go of me. Jessica jerked her arm away, but the motion made her lose her balance. She caught herself against the wall, breathing hard. You don't get to tell me what to do in my own home. Through the door, Derek's pounding had turned rhythmic and insistent. Come on, babe. I can hear voices in there. Just let me in so we can handle this together. Handle what exactly? Marcus's voice cut through the chaos from the phone speaker. There's nothing to handle, Derek. This is between me and Jessica about our daughter. But Derek was too drunk and too worked up to listen to reason from a disembodied voice. The pounding got louder, more aggressive. I could hear him trying the door handle, testing whether it would give. Emma looked up at me with wide, frightened eyes. Sarah, I'm scared. Can we go to my room? That's a good idea, sweetheart, I said, but Jessica blocked our path down the hallway. Nobody's going anywhere, she said, swaying on her feet. Emma needs to see that mommy can handle her own problems. That I don't need daddy running over here to rescue me every time things get complicated. This isn't about rescuing you. Marcus's frustration was bleeding through the phone connection. This is about Emma being in an unsafe situation. Unsafe? Jessica's voice rose dangerously. I'm her mother. How dare you call me unsafe? But even as she said it, Derek's shouting was getting more aggressive, and Emma was pressing herself against my legs like she was trying to disappear. The situation was escalating by the second, and Jessica was too drunk and too proud to see how frightened her daughter was becoming. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, 2 minutes away. Keep Emma safe. 2 minutes. I had to keep a scared 7-year-old calm for 2 more minutes while her drunk mother decided whether to let her equally drunk boyfriend into an already explosive situation. Derek's voice changed, becoming wheedling and manipulative. Come on, Jess. Don't shut me out. We're a team, remember? It's us against everyone who wants to tear us down. Jessica's hand moved toward the deadbolt again. Don't, I said firmly, grabbing Jessica's wrist again. Please. Look at Emma. But Jessica yanked away from me with surprising force, her eyes blazing with alcohol-fueled defiance. Stop telling me what to do. Derek cares about me, which is more than I can say for anyone else in this family. She reached for the deadbolt just as Derek's pounding intensified, the whole door shaking in its frame. I heard Emma whimper behind me. Jess. Open this goddamn door right now. The rage in Derek's voice made my skin crawl. This wasn't concern anymore, this was a drunk man getting increasingly aggressive when he didn't get his way. Through the peephole, I could see him swaying dangerously, his face flushed red with anger and alcohol. Jessica, please, Marcus's voice came through the phone, strained with barely controlled panic. I'm pulling into the parking lot now. Just wait 30 seconds. But Jessica had already turned the deadbolt with a decisive click. Derek burst through the door like a storm front, bringing with him the smell of whiskey and cigarettes. He was bigger than I'd expected, over 6 feet and broad-shouldered, with a kind of aggressive energy that comes from being drunk and looking for a fight. There's my girl, he slurred, pulling Jessica against him roughly. His eyes swept the apartment and landed on me with immediate hostility. And there's the little troublemaker. Emma made a small noise of fear and pressed herself completely behind me. I could feel her tiny hands fisting in the back of my shirt. Derek, you need to calm down, I said as evenly as I could manage. Emma's scared and... I don't give a shit what Emma's scared of, he cut me off, his words slurring together. I'm here to make sure nobody's bullying my girlfriend. Uncle Derek, you're being loud, Emma said in a tiny voice from behind me. Please stop being loud. Derek's bleary eyes focused on her for the first time, and something ugly crossed his face. Maybe you should go to your room, kid. The adults are talking. Don't talk to her like that, I snapped before I could stop myself. Derek's attention swung back to me, and I immediately regretted speaking. There was something dangerous in his expression, the kind of unpredictable aggression that comes from too much alcohol and wounded pride. Who the fuck do you think you are? He stepped closer, using his size to intimidate. Coming into Jess's house, telling her how to live her life, acting like you're Emma's real mom? I never said I was. Bullshit. Derek's voice exploded through the small apartment, making Emma cry out in fear. Jess tells me all about you. Little college princess playing house with her ex-husband, trying to steal her kid. From the phone still on speaker, Marcus's voice cut through Derek's rant. I'm in the parking lot. I'm coming up. Derek's head snapped toward the phone like he'd forgotten it was there. Oh, look who's here to save the day. Prince fucking Charming himself. Jessica grabbed Derek's arm, trying to calm him down, but her own intoxication made her movements clumsy and ineffective. Baby, just relax. Everything's fine. Everything is not fine. Derek shook her off, his voice getting louder and more erratic. This asshole thinks he can threaten you, and little Miss Perfect here thinks she can waltz in and take over. Heavy footsteps in the hallway announced Marcus's arrival, and Derek positioned himself between the door and the rest of us, puffing out his chest like he was preparing for a physical confrontation. Emma, honey, I said quietly, I want you to go to your bedroom right now and close the door. But before Emma could move, Marcus's key turned in the lock. Apparently he still had one from when this had been his home too. The door opened to reveal him standing in the doorway, taking in the scene, Derek drunk and aggressive, Jessica swaying and defiant, me trying to shield Emma from the chaos. His face went through several emotions before settling on cold, controlled fury. Get away from my daughter, he said quietly, and somehow that was more terrifying than if he'd been shouting. Derek laughed, a sound with no humor in it. Your daughter? Last I checked, this was Jessica's custody time. And last I checked, you have no legal standing here whatsoever. Marcus stepped into the apartment, and I could see him calculating distances, how quickly he could get to Emma, how much of a threat Derek actually posed. Legal standing? Derek's laugh turned nastier. I don't need legal standing to protect my girl from her psycho ex. That's when I realized this was about to turn physical, and Emma was still standing right in the middle of it all. Derek, stop, Jessica said, but her voice was weak and slurred. She was finally starting to realize how badly this was spiraling, but she was too drunk to do anything effective about it. Emma let out a terrified sob from behind me. Daddy, I want to go home with you. Over my dead body, Derek snarled, and the way he said it made my blood freeze. He wasn't just drunk anymore, he was getting genuinely aggressive, chest puffed out like he was preparing for a fight. Marcus took another step into the apartment, his hands raised in a calming gesture that fooled no one. Derek, you need to leave. Now. Before this gets worse. Worse for who? Derek swayed but held his ground. You think you can just show up here and intimidate Jess into doing whatever you want? She's got rights, asshole. She also has responsibilities, Marcus said, his voice deadly quiet. Like not getting drunk while caring for our daughter. Like not exposing Emma too. His eyes swept over Derek with obvious disgust. That's when Derek lost it completely. You sanctimonious piece of shit, he roared, lurching forward. You think you're so much better than everyone else. I grabbed Emma and pulled her toward the hallway, trying to get her out of the line of fire, but Derek's movement triggered some kind of protective instinct in Marcus. He stepped forward to intercept Derek's advance, and suddenly they were chest to chest in Jessica's tiny living room. Emma, go to your room right now, Marcus commanded without taking his eyes off Derek. But Emma was frozen in terror, clinging to my leg and crying too hard to move. Through her tears, she kept saying stop, stop, stop over and over like a prayer. Look what you've done. Jessica shouted at Marcus, her maternal instincts finally kicking through the alcohol haze. Emma's traumatized. What I've done. Marcus's voice rose for the first time. I didn't bring a drunk stranger around my daughter. I didn't lie about family emergencies to manipulate free babysitting. And I sure as hell didn't let this situation get so out of control that Emma's standing here terrified. Derek used Marcus's momentary distraction to shove him hard in the chest. Don't you dare blame Jess for this. You're the one who came storming over here like some kind of. Marcus stumbled backward but caught himself, his face going dangerously calm. Touch me again and see what happens. Guys, please, I said desperately, Emma's sobs getting louder in my arms. You're scaring her. Can we just? Shut up. Derek whirled on me, his face flushed red with rage. This is all your fault. If you hadn't come crying to Daddy about Jessica having one night of fun, none of this would be happening. Don't you dare talk to her like that. Marcus stepped forward again, and I could see this was about to explode into actual violence. Emma was hyperventilating now, her small body shaking so hard I was afraid she might pass out. Jessica finally seemed to realize how terrified her daughter was and tried to approach, but Emma shrank away from her. Baby, it's okay, Jessica slurred. Mommy's here. Mommy's drunk. Emma screamed through her tears. And Uncle Derek's being mean and everyone's yelling and I want to go home. The raw anguish in her voice cut through the chaos like a knife. For a moment, everyone stopped shouting and looked at this tiny girl who was falling apart in the middle of their adult drama. But Derek was too drunk and too worked up to stay quiet for long. This is exactly what you wanted, isn't it? He pointed an accusing finger at me. You wanted to make Jess look like a bad mom so you could steal her kid. That's not, I started, but Derek was already turning back to Marcus. And you? You probably planned this whole thing. Send your little girlfriend to spy on Jess, wait for her to make one mistake, then swoop in like some kind of hero. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. Get out of this apartment right now, or I'm calling the police. Derek laughed that ugly laugh again. Go ahead. Call them. Let's see what they think about you having a key to your ex-wife's place and barging in here whenever you feel like it. I felt Emma's grip on my shirt tighten as she processed Derek's words. Even through her terror, she was old enough to realize that her parents' relationship was more complicated than she'd understood. Jessica swayed toward us, her face crumpling. This is all wrong. This isn't how tonight was supposed to go. How was it supposed to go, Jessica? Marcus asked, his voice cold. You were supposed to come home to Sarah still here, Emma safely asleep, and no one the wiser about your lies? I just wanted one night, Jessica whispered, tears starting to stream down her face. Just one night to feel normal. To not be the responsible one for a few hours. The admission hung in the air like a confession. Even Derek seemed momentarily sobered by the raw honesty in her voice. But Emma pulled away from me entirely, staring at her mother with wide, hurt eyes. So you lied about Grandma being hurt because you wanted to go drinking, she asked in a small, broken voice. Jessica opened her mouth, then closed it, then started crying harder. And that's when we heard sirens in the distance. The sirens were getting closer, and Derek's face went from flushed red to pale white in about 3 seconds. Who called the cops? He demanded, spinning around to glare at all of us like we were conspirators in some elaborate setup. I didn't, Marcus started, but Derek was already pulling out his phone with shaking hands. Shit, Derek muttered, and I caught a glimpse of what looked like multiple missed calls on his screen. My parole officer's been trying to reach me. Parole officer. My blood went cold as the implications hit me. Derek wasn't just some drunk boyfriend causing drama, he was apparently someone with a criminal record who wasn't supposed to be drinking or getting into confrontations with law enforcement. Derek, you need to leave, Jessica said, suddenly sounding more sober than she had all night. Right now. But it was too late. The sirens had stopped right outside the building, and through the window we could see the red and blue lights painting the parking lot in alternating colors. Emma looked up at me with pure terror in her eyes. Are they here because we were being loud? Are we in trouble? My heart broke seeing her blame herself for this mess. No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. Marcus was already moving toward the door. I'll go talk to them, explain what's happening. No. Derek grabbed Marcus's arm, his grip desperate. Don't you dare go down there and tell them I was drinking. I can't get arrested again, man. I can't. The raw panic in Derek's voice was actually making me feel sorry for him, despite everything. Whatever he'd done before, the thought of going back to jail was clearly terrifying him. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway outside, followed by a firm knock on the door. Police. We received a noise complaint. Derek looked around the apartment like a trapped animal, his eyes wild. The fire escape, he whispered to Jessica. Can I get out through your bedroom window? Derek, no, Jessica said, but she was swaying again, the brief moment of clarity fading. Just hide in the bathroom or something. That's not how this works, Marcus said firmly. You can't just hide from the police in someone's bathroom. Another knock, more insistent this time. We need someone to come to the door, please. Emma was crying again, quieter now but somehow more heartbreaking. Why is everything so scary tonight, she whispered. I crouched down to her level, trying to block out the chaos around us. It's going to be okay. The police officers are just here to make sure everyone's safe. Ma'am, we're going to need you to open this door, came the voice from the hallway, with an edge of authority that meant they weren't going away. Jessica looked at Derek, then at Marcus, then at me holding her sobbing daughter. I could see her trying to calculate how to handle this, how to protect Derek without making herself look worse, how to explain the situation without admitting to all the lies she'd told. Just give me a second, she called toward the door, her voice cracking slightly. Derek was backing toward the hallway, still looking for an escape route. Jess, please. If they run my name and find out I've been drinking, then maybe you shouldn't have come here drunk, Marcus said coldly. Marcus, don't, I warned, seeing how Derek's hands were clenching and unclenching. The last thing we needed was another confrontation with police officers waiting outside. But Derek was past the point of rational thinking. This is all your fault, he hissed at Marcus. If you hadn't come charging over here like some kind of... Sir, we're coming in, announced the voice from outside, followed by the sound of keys jingling. They have a master key, Jessica said faintly, all the color draining from her face. And that's when Derek bolted toward the bedroom, probably still thinking he could escape through the fire escape. Jessica stumbled after him, calling his name. Marcus moved toward the front door, hands raised peacefully. Which left me standing in the living room with Emma, watching our disaster of an evening become a full-blown police incident. Emma looked up at me with those wide, scared eyes that had seen way too much tonight. Sarah, she whispered, are Mommy and Daddy going to jail? The front door opened and 2 police officers stepped inside, a tall woman with graying hair and a younger man who immediately started scanning the apartment with sharp, assessing eyes. I instinctively pulled Emma closer to me, trying to position myself between her and whatever was about to unfold. Good evening, the female officer said, her voice calm but authoritative. I'm Officer Martinez. We received reports of loud arguing and potential domestic disturbance. Is everyone all right here? Marcus stepped forward, his hands visible and non-threatening. Officers, I'm Marcus Chin. This is my ex-wife's apartment, and that's my daughter Emma. The situation got a bit heated, but... A crash came from the bedroom, followed by Derek's voice shouting something unintelligible. Officer Martinez's hand moved instinctively toward her radio while her partner headed down the hallway. How many people are in this apartment? She asked, her tone sharper now. 5 total, Marcus answered quickly. Me, my ex-wife Jessica, our daughter, my girlfriend Sarah, and Jessica's boyfriend Derek. Derek's the one in the bedroom, he's intoxicated and panicking about you being here. Emma's grip on my hand tightened. The scary man is hiding, she whispered, just loud enough for Officer Martinez to hear. The officer's eyes immediately focused on Emma, and I watched her expression shift into what I recognized as trained concern for a child in distress. Hi there, sweetheart. I'm Officer Martinez. Can you tell me if anyone hurt you tonight? Emma shook her head quickly, then looked up at me uncertainly. Nobody hurt me, but everyone was yelling really loud and Uncle Derek was being mean and Mommy lied about Grandma being sick. Officer Martinez's eyebrows rose slightly at this stream of information. She pulled out a small notebook, clearly recognizing that Emma's account might be the most reliable one she'd get from this group. Can you tell me more about the yelling? She asked gently, crouching down to Emma's eye level. Uncle Derek came here and he was walking funny and he smelled bad and he said mean things to Sarah, Emma said, the words tumbling out now that she had a grown-up who seemed to be actually listening to her. And Daddy came because Mommy was acting weird and then everyone started pushing and I got really scared. From the bedroom, we could hear Derek's voice getting more agitated as the other officer apparently cornered him. Something about just trying to leave and didn't do anything wrong. Jessica finally emerged from the hallway, swaying slightly and looking absolutely mortified. When she saw Officer Martinez talking to Emma, her face crumpled. "This is all a misunderstanding," she said quickly, her words still slightly slurred. "Just a little family disagreement that got out of hand." Officer Martinez stood up, and I caught her giving Jessica a very thorough once-over, taking in the disheveled appearance, the smell of alcohol, the unsteady movement. "Ma'am, have you been drinking tonight?" "I had a couple drinks earlier, but that was hours ago," Jessica lied automatically. "I'm completely fine to care for my daughter." Emma looked up at me with confusion. "But Mommy, you just got here from the bar with Uncle Derek. You said Grandma was hurt, but she wasn't really hurt and—" "Emma, stop talking," Jessica snapped, then immediately looked horrified at her own tone. Officer Martinez made a note in her pad. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to ask you some questions. And we'll need to sort out the situation with the gentleman in the bedroom before anyone goes anywhere." As if on cue, Derek's voice rose to a shout from down the hall. "I know my rights. You can't just search my pockets without a warrant." Officer Martinez sighed and spoke into her radio, requesting backup. Emma heard the word backup and started crying again. "Are more police coming?" she asked me, her voice small and terrified. "Are they going to arrest everyone?" I honestly didn't know how to answer that question. Looking around at the chaos, Jessica drunk and lying to police, Derek apparently resisting whatever the other officer was trying to do, Marcus standing there looking like he wanted to disappear, I was starting to think arrest might be exactly where this was heading. And Emma was going to have to watch it all happen. The sound of more sirens in the distance made Emma press closer to me, her small body trembling. I made a decision that would either save this situation or make it infinitely worse. "Officer Martinez," I said, stepping forward slightly. "I have something that might help explain what happened tonight." I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots I'd taken of Jessica's Instagram posts, the cocktails, the selfies with Derek, the timestamps proving she'd been at bars while claiming to be at a hospital with her injured mother. Jessica's face went white. "Sarah, don't." "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step back," Officer Martinez said firmly to Jessica while examining my phone. Her expression grew more serious as she scrolled through the evidence. "So you lied about a family emergency to obtain childcare, then came home intoxicated while your daughter was present?" "It wasn't like that," Jessica started, but her words were still slurred and unconvincing. From the bedroom, Derek's situation was apparently escalating. We heard the other officer saying something about outstanding warrants, and Derek's voice cracking as he begged not to be arrested. Emma looked up at Marcus with tears streaming down her face. "Daddy, I just want to go home with you. Please, can I go home with you?" Officer Martinez heard this and made another note. "Mr. Chen, what's the custody arrangement here?" "Joint custody," Marcus said immediately. "But given the circumstances tonight, Jessica being intoxicated, Derek's behavior, Emma being clearly traumatized, I'd like to take Emma home with me." "You can't just take her." Jessica protested, but Officer Martinez held up a hand. "Ma'am, I'm going to be honest with you. Right now, your daughter is telling me she's scared and wants to leave with her father. You're clearly intoxicated. Your boyfriend is apparently being arrested in your bedroom. I have evidence that you lied to obtain childcare so you could go drinking." She closed her notebook with a decisive snap. "Unless you want Child Protective Services called tonight, I strongly suggest you let Emma go with her father until you're in a better position to care for her." The mention of CPS seemed to cut through Jessica's alcohol haze like nothing else had. She looked at Emma, who was still clinging to me and crying softly, and something broke in her expression. "I just wanted one night," she whispered, starting to cry again. "I never meant for any of this to happen." Marcus's expression softened slightly. "Jess, you can't keep doing this. Emma deserves better than being caught in the middle of your chaos." Emma suddenly let go of me and walked over to her mother, wrapping her small arms around Jessica's waist. "Mommy, I love you, but you scared me tonight. You lied about Grandma and that made me really sad." Jessica knelt down and hugged Emma tightly, both of them crying now. "I'm so sorry, baby. Mommy made some really bad choices tonight. I'm going to do better, I promise." Officer Martinez watched this exchange with a mixture of professional assessment and human compassion. "Ma'am, I strongly recommend you consider getting some help. For your daughter's sake." Derek was let out in handcuffs 15 minutes later, shooting Jessica one last resentful look as the officers escorted him past us. Emma hit her face against Marcus's chest until Derek was gone. As we gathered Emma's things, Jessica pulled me aside. She was crying but seemed genuinely sober now, shock having burned through her alcohol haze. "Sarah, I'm sorry," she said quietly. "You've been nothing but good to Emma, and I've been treating you like the enemy. I was jealous and stupid and I almost ruined everything tonight." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not the manipulative ex-wife I'd been battling for months, but a young mother who'd lost her way and finally realized how badly she'd messed up. "Emma needs her mom," I said finally. "But she needs the best version of her mom. Tonight can't happen again." Jessica nodded, wiping her eyes. "It won't. I swear it won't." 3 hours later, Emma was asleep in Marcus's guest room, finally peaceful after the chaos of the evening. Marcus and I sat on his couch, emotionally drained but relieved that everyone was safe. "I can't believe you stayed," he said, pulling me closer. "When everything went crazy, you stayed and protected her." "She's just a little girl," I said simply. "She didn't deserve any of what happened tonight." "Neither did you." Marcus kissed the top of my head. "Jessica's going to have to earn back the right to unsupervised visits. And Derek won't be around Emma again, I'll make sure of that." My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Thank you for taking care of Emma tonight. I'm checking into an outpatient program tomorrow. I want to be the mom she deserves." It wasn't an ending, I realized. It was a beginning, the first step toward Emma having the stable, honest family she deserved. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of me finally being seen as part of that family instead of just the free babysitter.